Hi, folks. I just want to walk through how we create a side scroll within our page. So on default, this is kind of how you would see your page. So if you click on your frame, it will by default have a clip content. If you do want to see what is included on this frame but goes beyond it, if you go ahead and you uncheck that clip content, you can see what goes beyond there. So I went ahead and just set up some squares. These do in fact still work on my, on the grid. So you can see, but I just kind of shimmied them over just to give a little bit more of an effect or a visual cue to our users that these do scroll. I also want to note that oftentimes when we are adding stuff that's going to go outside of our page, something like this might happen where this actually, in fact, is not sitting within that page. And you can check that if you say clip content. And if I can still see that, that means that that content's not physically sitting in there. So I want to make sure that always that sits inside, all of our elements are sitting inside of our frame, and that can be easily done by just dragging them in. If I click and drag across all of those, I'm just going to press group. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to say frame selection. So now that's been called frame selection, I'm just going to call this horizontal scroll. So I do have that clip content off. So let's go ahead and bring that back on. But what I want to do with my frame selection is I just want to go and bring that in. It does move the elements in there. You can go ahead and adjust that after. So I want to adjust my frame so it's just snaps to the outer edges of my page. And again, if you do want to shimmy those over how I originally had them, you can just go ahead and manually select them and you can move them however you would like. So now from here, I'm going to go over to the prototype menu. I'm going to select this, and instead of no scrolling, I'm going to say horizontal scroll. And now if we press play, we can physically see that horizontal scroll moves side to side. So you could also add some other visual cues for your user to make sure they 100% know that this is scrolling, because sometimes if this content is not cut off and say, for instance, it sits essentially right within those margins, it might not be noticeable. But you can see here, it is a bit cut off here. It is a bit cut off here. So it is quite intuitive. But again, adding extra cues if you want, maybe an arrow or a side arrow, only when potentially there's imperative data that you would want your user to use. Otherwise, I would personally say this would be feasible for your users to get that cue.